6 or 7 of those draft picks out of 11 become starters. 4 or 5 are really good starters. And remember, Houston did this last year, and they went into a draft without a quarterback yet. So Arizona's got all these picks, all these premium picks, and they've got a star quarterback. So I think Arizona wins the draft. They'll come out of the weekend the most improved.
It feels like the organization's finally celebrating Kyler Murray since the regime change, right? We get Monty Ossenfort, Jonathan Gannon is just speaking, waxing poetic about his quarterback.
I think they're in a nice window now.
The Arizona Cardinals are far closer to challenging the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC West than you think. Kyler Murray's first 5 seasons in the league have been an absolute roller coaster, but the emergence of the new-look Cardinals has him primed for an MVP caliber season. And don't get me wrong, it might be jumping the gun to suggest that the Cardinals can contend for the NFC West this season, and not only that, but I do think that they possibly could boast one of the greatest records in the NFC. This is a team that can win right now, and in today's video we're going to talk about how 2 years of elite drafting and a new GM and head coach have allowed this turnaround. This is how the Arizona Cardinals are about to shock the entire league. Now, for starters, everybody remembers Kyler Murray's rookie season. The kid went out and won the NFL's Offensive Rookie of the Year, despite having one of the ugliest defenses in football. His elite play running the offense in his very first season helped the Cardinals win 5 games when honestly they shouldn't really have won any, and since then, a whole lot of turbulence has caused NFL fans to forget just how good Kyler can be at his best.
Hey, listen, I need you to sit down and study for an hour. If you don't do that, you can't play video games or watch TV. See, we've heard it before, but it was with a 5th grader, not a professional quarterback that was about to earn $160 million guaranteed and $230 over the next 5 years. This looks bad on everybody.
And look, this isn't me making excuses for how bad Kyler's tenure has been with the Cardinals, but at the same time, Kyler's NFL career has been anything but smooth sailing. For starters, the Steve Keim era as the team's GM was an absolute nightmare. The dude was a power-driven, egotistical general manager who hand-selected most of the coaching staff with far more involvement than he should have ever had outside of his primary role. I mean, he whiffed so bad in back-to-back years with first-round picks, twice drafting players that didn't even fit into their scheme correctly on defense, and ultimately found themselves without a defined role. Isaiah Simmons never found a rhythm in Arizona, and Zavion Collins has gone from middle linebacker to somehow trying to play off of the edge with very little success. Cliff Kingsbury had zero control over the locker room, and honestly was mostly just trying to pander with the offense and almost ignoring the complete defensive side of the ball. He and Kyler Murray butted heads on multiple occasions, and those were just the spats we saw on game days, with the young quarterback seemingly having very little respect for the man running the team. The team had fallen flat on their faces down the stretch in 2021, losing 5 of their last 6 games of the season, including the drubbing against the Rams in the first round of the playoffs. That team had started the year 7-0 but crumbled down the stretch, and yet if you thought that that was bad, the ensuing season was even worse.
Arizona Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins has been suspended 6 games for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing drug policy.
Reality is, this is the #1 wide receiver on the team that needs to throw the ball and throw it better. This is a damning blow for the Arizona Cardinals.
And they're not a playoff team without DeAndre Hopkins, and they were before this news.
Kyler Murray's contract negotiations turned ugly for all manner of reasons, and Steve Keim took a leave of absence that led to his eventual departure from the franchise. And amidst all of this chaos from the past few seasons, honestly, the Cardinals' window seemingly closed. The likes of JJ Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, Rodney Hudson, Patrick Peterson, Chandler Jones, and many more are all gone, and it finally feels like the roster is back on track and ready to compete this year. For Kyler Murray, trying to take that franchise to a Super Bowl was almost impossible. A dysfunctional franchise so ruptured on the inside that winning on Sundays hardly seemed to even be the focus. And when you then factor in he's already challenging history of injuries in the league, it's fair to say the roller coaster of the NFL hasn't exactly gone his way. Luckily though, Cliff Kingsbury was eventually fired and a new era began with Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenfort. Like as if the franchise hadn't taken enough lashings from their rivals in recent years, the emergence of Gannon's training camp speech immediately labeled him a weirdo.
Shots, explosives, you can run.
Who drove over here? Quick, let me see your hands. Who took the bus? Did you have fire in your gut?
Huh?
Did you?
I don't know.
We're here for a reason. Don't get that twisted.
Nope.
Okay, we're here for a reason to win games.
Oh, and then on top of this, he then suggested that he's looking for killers after delivering one of the worst speeches of all time. But in all fairness, we could back off on Gannon just a little bit because we could say that it was possibly due to him being just nervous to get in front of his new team and just in front of an organization as a now head coach. And coaching wise, I mean, the dude has an elite level defensive coordinator resume that many coaches wish they had. Gannon took the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl, and while he might have been tampered with by the Arizona Cardinals before he finished the job in Philly, he's here now and what's done is done. And he appears absolutely ready to build a defense that's finally here to support Kyler Murray in that explosive offense. In order to build that roster, he needed synergy with his general manager, and Monty Austinfort has done one of the most impressive jobs of any general manager over the past couple of seasons in football. He spent many years with the New England Patriots working closely with Bill Belichick, as he started out as an area scout in his second stint with the team from 2006, and by 2014 had worked his way up to the director of college scouting. He then stayed with New England until 2019, being a part of 4 Super Bowl winning seasons with the franchise. And after a bleak tenure in Tennessee, Austinfort landed the job with the Cardinals and made an immediate name for himself in the 2023 NFL Draft. He was bullish in the opening round, trading down from 3rd overall in an exchange with the Houston Texans that netted Arizona the 12th overall pick, as well as their first rounder in 2024. Then, not as quite satisfied with the opening day's action, Austinfort acted swiftly to trade back up from 12 to 6, claiming offensive tackle Paris Johnson as one of the future pillars of this franchise. The expectation was that Arizona would have had 2 top 15 picks heading into the 2024 draft, and while the Houston Texans might have spoiled that plan with an overachieving 2023 season, Austinfort was still able to secure a couple of real difference makers as the program rebuilt its core. Leading up to draft night, there was countless speculation about Arizona trading down and letting Marvin Harrison Jr. pass them by, but those rumors were quickly culled on draft night, as Kyler Murray was awarded a brand new superstar wide receiver and a generational talent at that. Darius Robinson was selected 27th overall, who I believe is an absolute bully on the defensive line, who is about as disruptive as it gets. And suddenly now, Arizona had 2 new stars to feature in the future years. The craziest part though is it wasn't just those 2 picks that they had in the 2024 draft. The Cardinals made no less than 12 picks in this draft, bringing a wide array of talent to supply Gannon with on his defensive side of the ball. And just to recap some of them, 2nd round pick Max Melton out of Rutgers, an elite level athlete at cornerback, and running back Trey Benson out of Florida State, who honestly is kind of getting slept on, is set to pair nicely with James Conner in their new offense. Late round swings on the likes of Xavier Thomas out of Clemson and offensive tackle Christian Jones have really given the Cardinals a fresh feel. And one quick thing before we start, I wanted to celebrate the recent success of the channel of hitting 13,000 subscribers. So to give back to you guys, I wanted to do a giveaway, and the winner will either get a signed mini helmet or jersey. To enter, simply join the Discord by using the link in the description, as well as following me on Twitter. I highly recommend joining the Discord. We are going to be doing watch parties with little mini giveaways during it all NFL season long, as well as a fantasy league to win some big money too once it gets closer to kickoff. So I'll see you guys over there, but for now, let's get back to the video. And looking at this roster as it stands today right now, this team is in a very different position 24 months on from a nightmare that was the 2022 season. Let's start with the biggest name of them all and how he's going to contribute in Marvin Harrison Jr.
The do-it-all receiver was the best wideout in the nation in his final 2 seasons at Ohio State, leading the FBS in touchdown catches and yards per reception. 78% of his catches resulted in a first down or a touchdown, nearly the same percentage as Jamar Chase in his last 2 college seasons.
More specifically, how he's going to work with Kyler Murray inside of this offense. As in Kyler Murray's time with the Cardinals, the standout season was that spent with DeAndre Hopkins in 2020. It's the best connection Kyler has had with any wide receiver since being drafted.
If you look at Kyler's performance last year, I had our stat guy, Brian, pick this out. Okay, so QBR with DeAndre Hopkins on the field, 62, 72% completion percentage, 8.8 yards per attempt. That's for Kyler Murray last year with DeAndre on the field. With Hop off the field, QBR goes from 62 to 46. That is a massive drop-off. 72% completion, 65. That's a huge drop-off. And then 8.8 yards per attempt to 6.6. That's almost 2 yards or over 2 yards per attempt less. That's a massive kind of performance indicator that Kyler is a significantly better player with DeAndre Hopkins on the field.
With the two combining for 1,407 yards and 6 touchdowns. A healthy Kyler Murray is capable of building that same connection with his primary target, and that will now undoubtedly be Marvin Harrison Jr. for the foreseeable future. With the departure of Hopkins in 2022 and more recently Marquise Brown and Rondale Moore, things have been headed in the wrong direction for Arizona's wide receiver room for quite some time. But now they have an absolute generational weapon who could have easily walked into the wide receiver room of any of the 32 franchises and been a 1,000-yard wideout. And I mean, the glazing on this dude, Marvin Harrison Jr., just was downright insane. I mean, he has elite size at the NFL level, and his combination of size, speed, and precise route running makes him an extremely unique blend of talent that perfectly set up for the maximum success in the league. And as we all know, his father was a great wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts, so he has that NFL blood quite literally running through his veins. But I think the best part about Marvin Harrison Jr. is that he is anything but entitled. He comes with a pedigree, but also a work ethic that far supersedes anything you might think you know about him as the son of a Hall of Famer. Like, this dude is hellbent on proving he is a different person than his dad and wants to build his own legacy, which I fully respect and believe that he can with the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Not only that, but when he's paired with Trey McBride, that's already a stunning looking duo. McBride emerged in 2023 as one of the league's greatest breakout stories, stepping up when the Cardinals needed a hero in the passing game and just a tight end outlet for Kyler Murray. McBride went from 265 yards and a touchdown in the 2022 season as the secondary tight end to Zach Ertz to one of the league's best performances at the position in 2023. He ended up posting 825 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns despite not starting for the Cardinals until week 8. Like, if the dude had started at the beginning of the season, his stat line might have been absolutely berserk. Most of his work did, like I said, come in the later half of the season, and when Kyler returned to the lineup, it was clear that those two had built a great level of chemistry behind closed doors. And now with Kyler completely healthy, we get to see this dynamic trio of Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray, and Trey McBride absolutely ball on Sundays. Kyler Murray is a genuine threat at his best, and now has 2 dominant, powerful targets to throw to for the next several years. And that's all without mentioning the elite run game that they have now too, which not to mention is Drew Petzing's absolute bread and butter coming over from Cleveland. Petzing is largely responsible for what was the 1-2 punch of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in their best years. And I'd expect to see a very similar approach now in 2024 with James Conner and Trey Benson. Conner had the best rushing season of his career in 2023 in his very first year working with Petzing. It's the first time he's posted a 1,000-yard rushing season in the NFL, and he did so in just 13 games following a stint on the injured reserve mid-season. When he did come back, Conner looked as good as ever with 5 touchdowns in the final 5 games of the year and 3 100-plus rushing yard performances in the same stretch. And now when you add Trey Benson to that backfield, it gives Petzing that 1-2 punch he's been looking for. And not only that, but I do think that Benson is one of the most physical backs that was in the 2024 NFL draft with the way he runs the ball. Not only that, but drafting a running back was clearly a priority for Arizona, taking Benson as the guy who could easily be the best running back in the class in the 3rd round. Things are coming together for the Cardinals, and this team appears to be starting to really rally behind the new look coaching staff. As I said before, Jonathan Gannon might have had a little bit of a ropey start to to life in the desert, but now he's ready to go. And that win over the Eagles last year, right at the close of the season, felt like the beginning of the next era of football for Arizona. Gannon went back into Lincoln Field, facing a team and a fan base still mad at him for the way the Super Bowl had panned out, and beat them. A team considered a Super Bowl contender fell short against Gannon's Cardinals, who were missing so many key pieces to their roster in what was effectively year one of a rebuild. And as this team stands right now, they are hungry and ready to win. They have two elite edge rushers that possibly could pan out. And even if they're just getting 4 sacks a season, that still, I would say, is a win for the Cardinals in their first 2 seasons as rookies and second year. BJ Ojulari is primed for a breakout season in 2024. And when you pair him with Darius Robinson, now competing for snaps on the opposite side, the Jonathan Gannon defense may really start to take shape this year. And now, don't get me wrong, I do think that they have a little bit more rebuilding to do if they want to have the star-studded talent that the likes of the Rams and even the Niners have in their division. But if you think that the Cardinals are just going to roll over this year when they play those 2 teams, you've got another thing coming. I truly do think that Arizona is going to be a sneaky team and that they honestly could sneak into the playoffs or even sneak past and win the NFC West over the Niners this year. If Kyler Murray stays healthy, that team can easily win 10 games, and they only need to nick 1 from the Niners to have a shot at claiming the division and priming themselves for a run in the playoffs. Why do they need to be a year or 2 away? Why can't the Cardinals compete right now? Because the fact of the matter is that it's been several years since Arizona has put Kyler Murray in any kind of position to succeed, and many have simply forgotten what a game changer he is when healthy and supported by a talented roster. Marvin Harrison Jr. and company just rewrote the storyline for the Arizona Cardinals in 2024. So no matter what anybody is thinking right now, I really do think a lot of people need to rethink about the Cardinals, because if you think that they're going to be a 7-win team, I don't think that, and you better rip it out and rewrite it. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. How good are the Cardinals going to be this year? Are they just going to remain that mediocre team, middle of the pack, not doing anything? Or are they finally going to turn it around with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride to help Kyler Murray possibly maybe even put together an MVP season? But I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below if you think that he can reach that MVP caliber. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.